Hey, good morning. How's it going? I'm really happy to be here. So, there are 95 of you amazing people who have subscribed to this channel and are helping me get to my goal of 100. We're really close. So, that means there are only 5 of you out there who maybe are watching this and haven't yet subscribed for whatever reason. And yeah, 100 is a magic number for me because then YouTube lets you do more shit with your channel, which means I get to name it, is one of the cool things I'm excited about. There might be other perks as well. So I've decided to come on here and say, oh my God, thank you to the 95 who have already subscribed, because when I started this thing, I felt like it was a miracle to have even 5 people that gave a hoot about what I was saying here. So you all really do mean a lot to me, and I really want to add value to your lives and figure out the best way to do this channel so that it makes an impact and helps you somehow, or at least makes you laugh or something. So I've decided to jump on here, and this final countdown, I need 5 more people to hit subscribe. If you who've already subscribed know someone who might benefit, go ahead and share this with them. What I've decided to do is come on here every day for the next 5 days. Today's day 1. And I'm going to do a deep dive into the how to deal with noisy neighbors thing. Because if I reflect on my last 5.5 years, 5 is such a magic number right now. My last 5.5 years of sobriety, recovery from drugs and alcohol, one of the biggest fucking serenity killers has been dealing with noisy neighbors. Which is basically just like a subset of things I can't control. Alcoholics are notorious control freaks. I think a lot of us can relate, whether we identify as recovering addicts or not, that we want to control things because we think it's going to make us happier. I have discovered that that's not how it works, and that's why I make these videos. One of the reasons is because I want to share what I've learned to live a more happy and amazing life, and I want to share that with you so that you can do the same. So from today for the next 5 days, I'm going to share more on that and what I do to manage my mind so that I can have some serenity no matter what's going on around me. And we're going to focus on noisy neighbors. So today I just wanted to share kind of a deep dive on my history. I'm kind of doing the model of what it was like, what happened, and what it's like now. What I'm actually going to do today is talk about what it's been like for me in my fucking years of struggle with dealing with noisy neighbors. And then I'm going to spend the next 2 days talking about I'm going to present you with an invitation to change your thinking about what's actually going on and what's actually causing your suffering. And then I'm going to offer, in the last 2 days, I'm going to offer tools that you can actually start practicing to change it. And guess what? Your neighbors don't have to change. Your neighbors don't have to move out. You're going to figure out, I'm going to help you figure out a way to be unfuckwithable and to keep your serenity no matter what's going on, which to me I think is a superpower. And that's something that I'm striving for every day. So God, me and noisy neighbors. I feel like it's been a personal attack from the universe sometimes. Obviously, maybe not obviously to some, but I've discovered that's not what's happening. I don't think the universe is attacking me or testing me. But I do believe in the whole, like, we create what we focus on. And my God, I am a quiet person and I like my home to be quiet. And I have all of these unspoken assumptions about how apartment living should be. And it's really funny because I've thought laughingly too that this might be karma, which I don't know. I'm interested in the idea, but I don't necessarily believe in that as it might come up in your mind. Anyway, sorry, I'm getting off track. But I've joked to myself like, oh, this is karma because all those years that I spent drinking and drugging, which is 16 plus years, I was not a good neighbor, okay? I was the asshole making tons of noise, having people over. Another thing I was really notorious for, I lived in these apartments that had super thin walls. And I was always so drunk and passed out that I wouldn't wake up to my alarm, but it woke up everybody else. And so many mornings, and for some reason I always had these ambitions. I've always wanted to be a morning person, and I am today. But I always still wanted to get up. I'm going to get up at 5 a.m. and change my life and do all the things. And I would just be wasted and not hear the alarm. And so my neighbor would knock on my door. She'd have to bang on my door at 5 in the morning talking about, I can hear your fucking alarm and you're not getting up. Please turn it off. And you know what? People were always very kind with me. And so I remember that. And that's part of what motivates me to be at peace no matter what's going on around me, because of the kind of neighbor I used to be. But now I'm quiet and I don't have a big stereo system. Like, I like music, but I'll listen to it on headphones or just coming out of my phone. I don't know. I even feel weird about playing guitar. And maybe that's some shit I have to work on. Maybe that's why I'm so. I've looked at this. Like, maybe why I'm so angry at noisy neighbors is because I don't let myself be as loud or as free or as bold as I want to be. That's definitely an issue. That could be a whole other podcast or vlog series. But anyways, I'm trying to share with you what my experience has been. So I moved from being the really shitty noisy neighbor to having really shitty noisy neighbors. And please know that I try not to hold on to the judgment of people's characters anymore. This is just how I thought back then. So I was judging them and calling them bad people when I don't think that's the case anymore. But back then, so one of the first terrible places I remember, I was living below a woman with 2 small children. And every fucking day, this little girl, the one was a baby, so I don't think he was too much in charge of the noise situation. But this little girl, I think she had a little neighbor friend over from the apartment building, and they played this game. I don't know what the fuck they were doing, but I can tell you what it sounded like. It sounded like we're throwing all the marbles on the hardwood floor, and then we're moving furniture around. So I would just hear these like skittering sounds, and then like big like scraping moving sounds, and that just went on and on and on. And I used to rage out. So this was the apartment where I had an air duct in my bathroom, a vent that connected to their apartment, and I heard the sounds louder through there, so I figured obviously they'd hear my sounds louder. So I would take my stereo and I'd blast death metal, and I would stand on the toilet and hold the speaker up to the vent and just be like, take that, you know. Really showed them. So that felt like a war. Like I had gone up to complain. I remember being homesick one time and I had this migraine. And I say sick, I mean, maybe I was hungover. Is it possible? Who knows? I went up to complain, and the woman was just really hostile, which I don't really blame her because I was fucking hostile too. And I remember one time the kids, they were playing in the hall. That was the other thing they used to do. They'd play in the hall right outside my door, and I'd go out there and I'd be like, I'm in my 20s and I feel like this crotchety old 80-year-old woman, like, take your joy in your life away from my door. I don't want it. You know, I'd go out there and be like, get away from my door, you kids. And I would shut the door, and the little kids would start singing this little song, and it would go, I'm an old lady, I'm an old mad lady. And I was like, yeah, I am. I'm an old mad lady. Shut up. So that was the first place that I remember. Let's see. Oh, another time, the place before this one, I lived next to this place that was just totally deteriorating. Like, it seemed like a really nice place, but I moved in on the tail end of my addiction, so I was just another shithead too. And I got sober there, and I gradually, like, as my life started to get better and I started to get some sanity and some serenity, I realized, like, everyone around me was kind of falling apart. This place had bed bugs, it had roaches, there were people on the end of my hall that would just leave their front door open and just blast, like, really bassy rap music, like, just loud as fuck. There was a guy next to me who I would bet $1 million that he was dealing meth, and at least they were doing meth there. And so there was a lot of like all hours of the night drama. I remember one time something really scary happened at midnight, and someone was getting their ass beat, and I was freaked out and also pissed at the noise. Very self-centered still. And I went over there and I banged on the door, and my neighbor answers, and he's bleeding, and he's like, call the police, he's gone crazy. And so he was getting his ass kicked with a baseball bat, and I had to fucking call the cops. And one time I woke up to someone's vengeful ex-girlfriend at 4 a.m. smashing his windshield in the parking lot, so I called the cops on that. And then the day that I decided to move out, after just tons of this kind of stuff, tons of this sort of noise and drama and ridiculousness, I was coming home with some boxes to pack, and there was blood on the stoop of my neighbor on the other side because they were drunk and fighting all the time. It was this couple, and someone got hurt, and I don't know if it was from a fight or if one of them fell down when they were drunk, but there was blood, and I was like, oh God, I'm so glad to be getting out of here. So then that brings me to this place, and there's been other spots in between. Also in that last apartment I mentioned, I think this goes along with noisy neighbors. When I got sober, I was in a very abusive relationship, and I had to actually escape this person, and it was a lot of drama. And for 6 months we still lived together, and I got sober and stayed sober while he was still being his drunk, crazy, abusive self. So I had to deal with that. Now in this place, it's an awesome apartment. I love it. It's a house that's broken up into 3 units, and I've had a lot of different neighbors come in and out of the other units. I've been here about 3 years. And the first guy worked in the service industry, and he didn't get home till 2 a.m. And when he did get home at 2 a.m, he liked to blast his music with a super bassy subwoofer to relax. And guess what? That fucked with me. Like, it woke me up at night. We talked about it. We fought about it. We ended up getting kind of hostile about it. And eventually he moved out, which is cool. And then some other people moved in, and they seemed to just stay home all day, every day, playing video games with super loud screaming sounds, bass sounds, guns, explosive sounds that I could just hear all through my house. I've also had people in the basement. There's a unit down there. I can hear the people that lived there before were doing drugs, and there was a guy and this roommate, and the roommate was always like doing more drugs, I think, and like I think that's why the one dude let him live there kind of rent free, but then they'd always end up fighting. And so at weird times, I just hear them screaming at each other. I heard this one guy screaming at his girlfriend. They would scream at his dog. It was just really shitty. And towards the end of when they moved out, I think he was starting to abuse his dog. And luckily they moved out before I could, well, luckily or not, before I could take action on that or find out what was really going on. So that was dramatic and shitty. And now the guy's living down there. It's been getting better all the time, and I really do credit that with some of this work I'm doing. I don't think I have like magical influence on anything, but I have noticed some pretty miraculous events come to pass when I focus on my mind and focus on what I can do, and situations do seem to arrange themselves so that I'm finding myself in the right place at the right time instead of with the wrong neighbors at the wrong times. We can talk more about that later, but it has been getting better, and my ability to experience whatever's going on has gotten a lot better, which is why I'm even talking about this stuff. My neighbors now are quieter than the neighbors before, but they're still kind of loud. They're like two youngish kind of party bro, Chad bro kind of dudes. And they like to have parties in the backyard, and they like to drink a lot of Coors, and they like to say woo a lot, and they like to fucking play bags, you know, those bro party games. No offense if you're into that stuff, but there's kind of a type that we can all think of, like frat boy type. And I've heard them kind of yelling, and I've heard them partying, and I've heard them having sex, and I've heard their music for sure, and I have handled it well, and I've banged on the floor at other times. So still a work in progress. All this is, right? Living in community is a work in progress. Me managing my mind and my serenity is a work in progress, and trying to figure out how best to get along in the world when we all have kind of different ways of relaxing and having fun in our personal spaces. It's been challenging. The reason I chose to do this for like this special bonus series is because it's really been up for me, even more so because not only have I been struggling with them and their music, but now they got a dog. And they leave the dog alone all day, and the dog howls and cries and barks all fucking day long. I'm assuming. It starts kind of early in the morning, and then when I come home at night, 12 hours later, it's still going. I suppose it stops someday. I have no way of knowing if it stops during the day. But anyways, that's kind of the new fresh layer of hell on that piece that I get to deal with. So I'm just wanting to bring you all up to speed on, like, yes, I have experience in dealing with this kind of shit. And if I can help anyone at all find some serenity around this, I want to, because I know this kind of special insanity this can stir up. This like feeling like a crazy person, and then I add all kinds of layers of judgment, and it just gets really intense. So I want to help anyone else who struggles with that. So if you're struggling with noisy neighbors, please stay tuned. You know, you could apply this to annoying coworkers. I'm sure there are other examples, but it's morning and I guess my brain's just like, clunk, let's have some more coffee. Anyways, share it with people you know might benefit. Hit subscribe if you haven't already. And yeah, I'm really excited to do this little project. So I'll be back tomorrow, and I'm going to lead us off with an invitation to accept that, guess what, novel concept, it's actually not the neighbors causing your suffering. What? Did I just blow your mind? Well, I'll talk more about it tomorrow. All right, thanks for watching. I'll see you soon. Bye.